The story begins in a snow-covered mountain range and inside a cave. Someone calls the guy lying on the ground an idiot, asking if he really thought he could escape the web of heaven and earth, and demanding he quickly reveal the location of the ancient relic. The guy just calls them sons of fruit, and with his severed arm, he asks if they were in his shoes, would they say anything? This makes the other guys really angry and they try to attack him, but the commander tells them to relax because he will talk to the main battalion. He then begins to communicate with a magic stone, saying that the ghost of the north has been found and verified, and asks for confirmation of the locations. On the other side of the magic stone, they say they will arrive soon. He then tells the guy on the ground that he is still holding onto his arm, even though it is cut off, and wonders why the ghost of the north knows about a relic that his own group is looking for. The guy on the right says there must be a reason, and that he suffered a lot looking for this guy, and because of him, he has been injured for days. It is kind of unfair that he worked so hard because of this insect and should at least enjoy a bit while the main battalion arrives. Then, the severely injured guy stares at them, noticing that one of them is drawing a sword and saying he should be prepared because he won't stop until he begs for death. The hooded guy says they'll decide by coin toss who will start, and tosses the coin into the air, saying heads he goes, tails the other goes. But while looking at the coin in the air, the fallen guy bites his own arm, lifting himself off the ground and touching the rest of his arm, which starts to regenerate automatically. It is said that this is the first failure of the awakening of the Drake family, specifically Zack Drake. Born into the great family of dragon slayers, it was obligatory for him to be an aura user, and thus he could become a knight. But if he failed to awaken, he would be treated like garbage and expelled from the family, which is exactly what happened to him. To survive, he had to do everything to become stronger. Once, someone told him that if his goal was only power, in the end, he would have nothing. The guy still looking at the coin in the air sees it fall from his hand, and just as he opens his hand to see the result, someone appears right behind him, cutting off his head, scaring the guy next to him. Zack ends his thought by saying that he thinks it's all about power and nonsense, and the other guy prepares to fight as Zack continues thinking that in this world the weak will always be defeated. For those with power, he simply splits the guy's sword in half and then lands a full strike to his chest. As the guy falls to the ground, he grabs his other arm and reattaches it. When he starts to walk away, he says it would be very shameful if he ran away while surrounded by several men. The men, quite surprised, wonder how he reattached his arm. They call him an irregular type and a complete disgusting creature. Another guy says it doesn't matter what he is, if they cut his neck, he will surely die. Zack, surrounded by everyone, realizes he will have to fight to the end to survive. After some time, the fight is over and he has massacred everyone, but he is still in bad shape, saying this is all terrible. It seems he has lived long enough, even though he did not get his revenge. He ended up dying because of the relic the Emperor wanted. The very relic he was hiding. He thinks intensely, calling out to someone named Alicia as his blood begins to fall on the relic. As soon as his blood touches the artifact, the relic begins to shine, and a screen appears before him, saying that a great will has awakened the ancient power. A dragon of energy appears behind him, and another screen says that the soul of the ancient dragon will be connected to the soul of the one who possesses the great will. A woman with a cloak is behind him, seemingly blessing him, and the screen says the emergency procedure will be carried out and asks if Zack Drake accepts. While being embraced by the spirit of a woman, Zack doesn't fully understand what it means, and once again the screen asks if he accepts. He says he doesn't care and they can do whatever they want. Thus, his consent is confirmed, and it is said that the irreversible power will be activated. A countdown begins. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Someone says they were sure he would become like this when he opened his eyes, and the child, who is basically Zack, thinks he has returned to the past and can still feel the sensation of those swords piercing his body. The place he is in is very familiar. It is the training institute of the Drake family. It is said that the Drake family of dragon slayers is one of the 3 great families. The hero who defeated the evil dragon Bahamut and saved the continent 1,000 years ago founded the Drake family. Therefore, all his descendants are blessed with aura, and those who awaken become incredible knights, except for him, of course. Once again, the screen appears, saying the system has been reset, and Zack is very surprised, not understanding what it is. He gets out of bed asking where that voice is coming from. The screens reappear, saying that it is checking the soul of the Chosen One, and it is confirmed that the souls have been 100% connected. The soul of the ancient dragon was combined with the soul of the Chosen One, which leaves him very surprised, and the screen says he has acquired part of the system's privileges and it's a pleasure to meet Zach Drake. He sees in that status window that it looks like magical visions, and he thinks this is part of the ancient relic. As soon as his status window is activated, he begins to read all the information and notices it is somewhat transparent. He also sees that he has the rare rank of healer class, and his title is Blessed by the Dragon. He understands that these terms are no longer used, but there was someone who spoke about these terms to him, his master, who said the ancient people called each individual's aptitude a class, and each class had a skill. His class was healer, and his skill was obviously healing. He thinks his master made him train so hard he almost died, but according to this status window, he is already a healer. So he decides to test his power, and as soon as he activates it, he is very surprised, realizing it is true. He recalls that he became a healer in his past life when he was 20 years old after opening his ether core. So he tries to open his ether core, closes his eyes to concentrate, and when he opens them, he realizes he can open his ether core. Now he is certain he has lost the body he acquired through training, but he has returned to the past with his skills and memories intact, including the ability to open his ether core before turning 20. He thinks this will be very advantageous for him. As he sits on the bed, he realizes he has to discover everything he has gained. But at that moment, someone knocks on the door and asks if the young master can enter, which makes Zach tremble with fear. The person on the other side of the door says it doesn't matter if he pretends, they know he is there. Zach becomes very nervous again, saying he barely saw anything and doesn't understand how to make the status window disappear. He notices the person calling him Young Master, making Zach desperate, trying to hide the window. The butler simply opens the door and stands in front of him, asking what the hell he's doing. This is Zach's exclusive butler, called Dicker. Zach asks him if he is ready and what he is talking about, realizing the butler can't see his ether core or status window. The butler moves closer and asks if Zach truly doesn't know what he's talking about, making Zach tremble in fear once more, thinking he has always been terrified of this guy. He can't avoid the fear embedded in his body, and automatically, the mental stabilization skill is activated, surprising Zach as the fear instantly disappears. His class skill, mental stabilization, keeps the user's mind stable regardless of the situation, ensuring a state of calm. He realizes this is one of his abilities. New abilities have kind of activated automatically, leaving him quite confused. The butler says he has already mentioned several times how important this event is and asks if the young master is listening. Zach replies that he is. The butler says he is talking about the aptitude test called Pancratzio. Zach recalls his past when he always failed the Pancratzio. It is said that all descendants of the Drake family go to a place called the Institute at age 7. After 5 long years of training and strict rules, each year the instructors evaluate students through the Pancratzio, which consists of a combat competition. The opponents are chosen by the instructor or by mutual agreement. Since there are no specific rules, some might end up dying. This test defines the rankings at the academy, and they have no choice but to give their all. Zach heads to the training field where the Pancratzio will take place. The person on the platform says this is the final test and everyone responds affirmatively. The instructor, Van Mark, says they will finally begin and asks everyone to get ready. The cadets start preparing, while some are chatting and wondering if it's really Zik, questioning if he came back after what happened last year. If they were him, they would never return. But he is still a descendant. Zach can hear all these whispers. The instructor calls Aaron and Gota, and these two climb onto the platform to fight. When the instructor gives the signal, they rush at each other, and a combat begins. One of them lands a kick right on the other's chin, and someone in the stands thinks it's already over for that guy, believing he was foolish to advance without any plan, leaving many openings. Goa loses, and Aaron wins. Zach remembers trembling just thinking about the Pancratzio when he was younger, wondering how he could have been so foolish back then. As he yawns, another guy on the other side of the stands watches him with a killing aura, itching to fight. After some time, the instructor calls Zik and Leon, and as they get on the platform, he asks if they are ready. Both say yes. Zack thinks his opponent is Leon again. Leon, who crawled back today, seems to have learned nothing from what happened last year. Zik thinks nothing has changed, remembering the past when Leon said he better beg if he wanted to live. Zik kneeled in front of Leon, begging him to let him go. Every year, this guy is his opponent, probably pulling some strings. But his family surely ignores it, saying a true dragon slayer can surpass even games like this, and that idiot in the end is Zik's cousin. In his past life, he never met his 4 brothers, even though they were from the same family. His cousins, who number more than 10, always treated him like trash. That's how the Drake family is. Leon goes and congratulates Zeke, saying it took courage to come back after getting beaten so badly. Or maybe as an inferior, he's so stupid he didn't learn anything and came back like an idiot. The mental stabilization ability activates so Zik doesn't get too angry. He thinks it's been a while since he heard those words. He tells Leon directly that if he calls him inferior again, he won't stand idly by. Leon touches his head and asks what he'll do if he says it again, calling him inferior scum. Zik moves his hand and lands a punch right on Leon's chin, activating the instant death ability, which inflicts fatal damage on the enemy, but if the attack fails, the user suffers damage. Leon starts screaming that his face is hurt, even bleeding. Zik only wanted to punch him but accidentally activated the ability, and it seems he couldn't control it well. The audience is confused, and the instructor quickly asks why Zik attacked without orders. Zik replies that on the battlefield no one says prepare before drawing their sword. He activates a devilish aura, saying it's always the strongest who wins, leaving the instructor completely perplexed, thinking Zik is very different from before. Leon stands up and says they will fight now. The instructor agrees, and the two stare at each other. Leon says he will kill Zik, who asks if Leon is strong enough to do that. The instructor gives the signal, and Leon rushes at Zik. Leon thinks he only got punched because his guard was down, and Zik isn't stronger than him. While keeping his guard up, Leon tries to predict Zik's attacks, thinking Zik will strike with his left fist. When Zik does exactly that, Leon dodges and grabs Zik's leg, trying to knock him down, calling him inferior scum again. At that moment, he feels something in his body, not understanding what just happened, and releases Zik. The instructor, watching Zik, thinks this doesn't make sense. Such combat sensitivity shouldn't belong to a 12-year-old. When Leon dodged Zik's attack and tried to knock him down, he thought Leon would win. But Zik landed a punch on his chin and managed to free himself at the last moment. He anticipated the attack and, despite failing, managed to get up and strike again immediately, which requires precise and excellent concentration, monstrous for a 12-year-old. He wonders if this is really the Zik Drake he knows. Leon, who took 2 punches to the chin, is quite disoriented, thinking he can't go on like this and needs to keep a certain distance. But at that moment, Zik rushes at him, landing a kick on his leg. Leon thinks it's unbelievable how someone like Zik got so strong, calling him inferior scum again, even while taking a beating. Zik thinks he can now control his abilities. Leon goes to punch Zik again, but Zik activates the sensory focus ability, which sharpens all his senses and speeds up his mental capacity. Zik thinks this is very different now that he can control his abilities well. He dodges Leon's punch, grabs his arm, and throws him to the ground, pushing him against the platform, creating a hole. Everyone is confused about what's happening. Even the instructor trembles, thinking about what just happened. At that moment, Zik activates the vital perforation ability, landing a blow to Leon's stomach. This ability increases damage when hitting a vital point of the enemy. Zik, standing over Leon, says that if his body is weak, he just needs to keep hitting until Leon gives up. He starts beating Leon in front of everyone, leaving the instructor and cadets completely shocked. After beating his cousin to his satisfaction, Zik stands up and says enough with the games, mentioning he broke a sweat. He looks directly at the other 4 people in the stands, ordering them to come and say what they want to his face instead of just watching. One of them stands up, calling out to Zack, saying he chooses him as his opponent because he has something to say. Zack sees it's his other cousin, Jake and Wardak. Zik says it's fine, But Jaken alone is boring, so he calls Leon Stone to join him. Leon, a brute and Jaken's servant, arrogantly says he thinks the fight will be fairer now. Jaken, very angry, asks if Zik just insulted him. Zik cheekily says of course he did, calling him an idiot, which drives Jaken mad, thinking he'll smash Zik's face. As they descend, the instructor asks Zik not to do what he did last time and not to attack them immediately. Zik thinks it's very interesting to see him there again. Mercenary King Leon, in his past life as Jen's servant, joined the academy. Being a distant relative, he was left behind in terms of education to join the self-education of Valhalla Academy. Eventually, he joined the Order of the Knights of a small nation called Burano. When Burano fell, he became a mercenary. In chaotic times, people increasingly turned to the strong, and with his long life as a mercenary, he became a Red Knight and founded his own mercenary corps, the Stone Mercenaries. He united the three largest mercenary groups and soon became known as the Mercenary King. When the Empire hired the Stone Mercenaries, Leon entered the Continental Wars, facing Zeke and the people of the North as his enemies. But this time might be different. The instructor asks them to start. Jen wastes no time and goes to punch Zik, thinking he landed the hit, but is shocked when Zik simply grabs his fist. Zik reminds him he told them to come at him together. Jen refuses to play his game, knowing his dirty tricks, and tries to kick Zik's face, but is blocked again. Jen can't understand what's happening, seeing Zik react to his moves. Zik advises him to analyze properly before kicking. Jen realizes his leg, besides being blocked, was injured. Zik attacks him, saying he was distracted and charges power into his fist. When Zik hits him, Jen starts trembling. Zik asks why he's so scared and didn't even foresee a feint, kicking Jen's leg and explaining that's why he asked both to come at him together. Zik begins beating Jen, saying he's not enough alone. Jen, feeling proud but realizing he'll lose, calls Leanne to kill Zik. Zik stops attacking and thinks Leanne doesn't seem like a 12-year-old because he's gigantic and strong, with an irritatingly long reach. Leanne stretches his arms, trying to hit Zik. Zik knows he must take the lead, so he rushes at Leanne, and they begin fighting. Zik activates the cutting ability, hitting Leanne with multiple strikes. This ability launches a barrage of attacks, interfering with the enemy's vision. The crowd thinks it's insane and doesn't understand what's happening. Even the instructor is shocked. Zik thinks they're curious because they've never seen this before. From the north, using a fighting technique with daggers in a central region where swords dominate, Zik thinks his body was terrible when he was younger because he's already running out of breath with this little fight is. Besides that, the monstrous physique of his opponent is a problem. The guy isn't making any counterattacks or dodging, he's just taking all Zik's hits with a high guard. He was more aggressive in his time as Mercenary King, and Zik realizes his body is reaching its limit. Now he understands how strong this guy's body is, but he'll defeat him through his guard. Leanne just stares at him, but to his surprise, Zik charges a technique into his fist and rushes at Leanne. As he strikes, Zik notices Leanne dodged, realizing everyone there has insane senses. Leanne grabs Zik's arm, trying to throw him to the ground, but Zik uses this move to land a kick on Leanne's head. He grabs Leanne's arm, activates enhanced senses, and tries to force him down, pushing his leg against Leanne's head to choke him, thinking that no matter how strong his body is, he can't do anything without oxygen to his brain. Suddenly, Zik starts coughing blood, realizing that the monster still has a free arm and is beating him. Zik thinks this guy is completely crazy, but if Leanne wants to go all the way, he won't stop either. As Zik chokes Leanne punches him repeatedly. The cadets are shocked by the scene, and even the instructor is scared. Eventually, someone is finally knocked down. Leanne is choked unconscious. A girl in the stands thinks this was expected and wonders if defeating him will be worth it, thinking about Zik Drake. After the Pancratzio, Zik returns to his room. The butler hears he was injured during the Pancratzio and asks if he's okay. Zik says yes, but the butler wants to examine his body. Zik thinks the butler wants to check if he can use aura, so he asks him to wait a bit. The butler grabs his arm and starts injecting mana into his body. Zik wonders if the butler is a blue knight. Normally, to check if someone has awakened their mana core, It is examined, but the butler is checking all his vital points and transferring aura from one body to another just to verify it, which is very difficult at this level. Zik thinks it's possible the butler is a blue knight. It is said that not all are the same, and they are divided based on strength and mana control. White is the beginner level, and most children they are considered white knights. Yellow is when they awaken their aura and open their core, specifically after the awakening ceremony, everyone becomes a yellow knight. When they can manipulate the aura, they receive the title of purple knight, my knight. A blue knight is at the level where they can invoke the sword aura, and those who have surpassed the limits can reach what mercenary King Leon and Zik achieved in their past lives, becoming red knights. Zik also thinks about the existence of black knights, but not many reach that level. He wonders how the butler reached the blue level and became his nanny, thinking it doesn't make any sense. There's also a power only 2 people can use in this world, which is ether. After the butler checks his body, he directly asks if the young master is hiding something from him. Zik responds by asking if the butler is hiding something from him. They stare at each other in silence, but then the butler jokes and asks how Zik has changed so much. Zik seriously looks back and says the wrong question is why he has changed now, and that many things will change from now on. Everything will return to where it should be. He asks the butler to just observe quietly. The butler agrees and informs him that the training room he requested is ready. Zik says he was fast, as expected. The butler wishes him a good day and Zik sends him off, thinking it's best to keep him close and get as much information as possible. The problem is he can't side with his dead mother but with his father or brothers. After that, the scene shifts to the private training room. Upon arrival, Zik thinks it's quite decent. He calls upon the system, saying he'll take a look first and starts analyzing all the information. He notices his beginner cutting ability has changed to intermediate, and it seems the level increases as he uses them. The abilities activate automatically according to his actions. He wonders if he had such abilities before and if he learned something new, if he can add it as a skill. He also wants to know the difference between class skills and common skills, which seem to have similar activation methods. His Draconic ability is blocked and requires 10 karma points to unlock. At the moment, he has 0 points. He can acquire karma points by killing monsters, thinking it will be easy as there are many dungeons. But he needs at least a purple level to go there. He thinks he doesn't really understand why he went back to the past or what this system he received is. He has many questions to ask as he looks at his class and abilities. Without a doubt, it has something to do with that ancient relic. There is still a lot of missing information, but it doesn't matter now. He picks up a sword and says he will do whatever it takes to become stronger, whether it's with the system or using the drakes. It is said that there are 2 forces in the world: the aura that knights can use and the mana that mages use. Knights use aura according to their core, while mages use mana through circles. These 2 forces are opposite. Those awakened with aura can't use mana, and vice versa. Born without talent, he couldn't awaken either his core or circle. When abandoned by his family, he met a master and received much training. The most useful were healing and the ether core. His master taught him about the ether core, and they were the only 2 in the world who could use ether. After 2 hours, he is exhausted, wondering if his body will be okay. Then he activates a healing ability called energy recovery. Exhausted and trembling, he feels his body returning to normal. Healing is a rare ability he didn't know before meeting his master. If he uses it in front of others, they will treat him as an irregular, which is why he didn't use it in his fight against Leon. Returning to his room, he quickly healed his wounds and fully recovered. He continues this cycle of training and healing. Time passes, it is almost dinner time, and he has trained a lot. He doesn't know what to tell Dicker. A week later, during shared dinner, people talk about Zeke, wondering how he became a completely different person and what got into him. Some suspect he is using dark magic. He even broke the nose of a member of a powerful family. In a private room, cadets are eating, including a girl named Raina Troon, who eats non-stop while they discuss Zeke. Owen Seaman says they should eat even without an appetite because they need to be full for more training. And we'll see it in the next episode. Remember to subscribe and leave a like.